Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 14th edition of Today in the World of Wrestling. Tonight we are covering the live SmackDown draft that occurred on July 19th, 2016. And boy, was this a horrible, disappointing show.
I love how you said that with all the glee in the world.
Well, I've got to be happy about something, so I guess I'm just happy about the fact that I am done watching this.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I guess that is something to be happy about.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who either couldn't keep up with the draft or just are really interested in a summary of each roster, this is where you want to come, because I've got both rosters in front of me right now, and I can tell you effectively 29 people were picked on the network, not 30. They robbed us again. So let's talk about these rosters. Let's start with the smaller roster of the two, that being SmackDown. And another odd thing about the draft on the network is that SmackDown got just as many picks as Raw, -1. Raw got 15 picks, SmackDown got 14 picks, because in the 7th round, which is the first round that occurred on the network, Raw picked up Golden Truth, Titus O'Neil, and Paige, while SmackDown only got the Usos and Demon Kane. But after that, every round was 6 picks, with each brand getting 3 picks each. It was extremely confusing. I don't know what made them decide to go that route, but regardless, Raw has, I believe, a full 40, 30, I don't know. John, what do you think of this? This is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it really went off the rails once we switched over to the network, and I just don't really know what was happening anymore. A lot of people are saying they felt like SmackDown got the Raw end of the deal. No pun intended there.
Raw, I'm looking now. Raw has a 30-person roster right now.
Right.
SmackDown, though, I mean, just from the television show, from the actual SmackDown show, they got 10 people, but then they got 14 people on the network. So they have 24, while Raw has 30. So even though I think that the initial goal was for Raw to have a 50% larger roster than SmackDown, as it turns out, it's only 25% larger than SmackDown.
Right.
So they just completely botched their own draft on the network. I don't know how they managed to do these things so consistently, but congratulations, WWE. You have no clue what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else, bro. I mean, just coming from my personal friends, a lot of people disappointed in the NXT call-ups from what I can see, with a few exceptions, obviously, which
well, the thing is, with NXT, we were expecting... Here was my personally expected call-ups from NXT. Balor, American Alpha, both of those happened, but then I was expecting the other 4 to be Bayley, Nakamura, Ty Dillinger, and Corey Graves. Those were my 6, because I had different reasons for not necessarily thinking that like Samoa Joe would get called up, or the Revival, stuff like that. And as it turns out, the 6 NXT talents that were called up were Finn Balor, American Alpha, Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss, Mojo Rawley, and Carmella. And Carmella's not even on the same brand as Enzo and Cass.
Yeah, I was most excited in that second batch, after
Bliss.
After Balor and everything. Yeah, Bliss and Carmella. I like Carmella, but Mojo Rawley, and don't even get me started on Nia Jax, so I might actually hate even more than the Mojo pick, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
I do think, though, that, John, you might be getting your wish on SmackDown. You know what? Before we go into that, let's do a brief rundown, and then later on tonight we're going to put up a full commentary really dissecting these rosters. So on SmackDown, you have Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, John Cena, Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, Becky Lynch, The Miz with Maurice, Baron Corbin, American Alpha, Dolph Ziggler, Natalya, and Alberto Del Rio. Those were the picks made on television.
Right.
And then on the network, you have the Usos, Demon Kane, Kalisto, Naomi, The Ascension, Zack Ryder, Apollo Crews, Alexa Bliss, Breezango, Eva Marie, Vaudevillains, Eric Rowan, Mojo Rawley, and Carmella. There's your SmackDown roster, people.
Yeah, that's really something.
Yeah, that's John's really nice way of saying that blows. So then we move on to Raw. And on television, we had 18 picks for Raw. Seth Rollins, Charlotte, and Balor were in round 1. Reigns, Lesnar, and The New Day were in round 2. Sami Zayn, Sasha Banks, and Chris Jericho were in round 3. Round 4 was Rusev with Lana, Kevin Owens, and Enzo and Cass. Round 5 was The Club, specifically just Anderson and Gallows because AJ Styles was already taken by SmackDown. The Big Show and Nia Jax. And then the 6th and final televised round was Neville, Cesaro, and Sheamus. So they're trying to go global with that 6th round.
Right.
And by global, I mean pretty much just Europe.
Exactly.
So then on the network, Raw got, in the 7th round, Golden Truth, Titus O'Neil, and Paige. So they broke up Paige and Alberto Del Rio. They split them up. In the 8th round, Darren Young, Sin Cara, and Jack Swagger. So they split up the Lucha Dragons. In the 9th round, the Dudley Boyz, Summer Rae, and Mark Henry. In the 10th round, Braun Strowman was specifically drafted to Raw, which means that he's now separate from Bray and on his own. Bo Dallas, which effectively broke up the Social Outcasts, and the Shining Stars.
Right. So again, very interesting assemblage of people, but Raw really packed a power punch.
And finally,
television.
we have 1 round left, the 11th round, and Raw got Alicia Fox, Dana Brooke, so she's still with Charlotte, and Curtis Axel, who gets to rejoin Bo Dallas, but now Heath Slater is left in the dark.
Poor Heath, man.
I know.
Jesus.
So, ladies and gentlemen, those are your rosters. We did a little bit of discussion on them so far, but we are going to do a full-blown TitWoW discussion up next. Be ready and stay tuned.